Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aardvark Accessibility Podcast. This is episode 17. I'm Natalie G, the host, and Mike, MC. And with me today is,
Natalie Mack, accessibility expert.
yes, she is an accessibility expert here to answer all our questions. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about I want to get my website or app certified as accessible. Why can't we get our websites certified as accessible, Natalie?
Yeah, this is something that clients often ask for more often than you might think because they want to have, I think they want two things. I think number one, they want to have some kind of certification that they can display on the website to say, look, my website is accessible. And then I think the second thing that they're hoping to get is peace of mind that nobody is going to be able to sue them or send them a demand letter saying that their website isn't accessible. And unfortunately, there is no official accessibility certification. We have talked extensively in other episodes of the podcast, and I like all over online. If you look up information on accessibility, you'll see WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, referred to over and over again. And those are just a set of guidelines. They are not a certification scheme in any way, shape, or form. And they are also not comprehensive. So meeting WCAG does not mean that your website is 100% accessible. It's just a baseline of accessibility. So unfortunately, there is no way to actually certify a website as being accessible.
No, because accessibility is not a one and done kind of procedure.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the challenges because if, for example, there was some kind of website certification, you would have somebody come in, test your site, certify it as accessible. And then as soon as you went in and made one edit, that would be out the window and you would have to start all over again. And it wouldn't be cheap, right? It would be pretty time consuming and pretty time intensive. Websites change all the time. And it makes it really hard to have, any report or anything that you do is just a point in time, right? On the day that this report was finished, here's what the state of accessibility was on the site. But it is not like a certification of that status because probably maybe even that later that same day, something on the website changed. Something new was added, something was edited, something was removed. And now those test results are invalid.
Yeah. It's like trying to certify a human as healthy. Right?
That's a good analogy.
The next day, they can catch a cold. That certificate goes out the window.
Might cut your finger, might stub your toe.
A gator can bite your hand off.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, Natalie just came back from Louisiana, you guys. Natalie came from Louisiana, where she could have gone on the gator tours, but she decided
Still
not
have both
to.
my hands though. I did
Yes.
not feed marshmallows and hot dogs to the alligators.
As fun as that sounds, she did not get to do that. Okay, so we can't certify websites. We can only do reports which count for a certain point in time. Do you want to touch on 508? Because the word certification gets thrown in there with the certified trusted testers.
Yeah, so the Department of Homeland Security in the United States does offer a certification course and test to anyone who's willing to invest, I don't know, 100 hours of their lives, I suppose, into getting it. There's no cost. And that is called the Section 508 Trusted Tester Program. And you can go through that program, learn all about web accessibility and how to test for it according to the Section 508 standards, which are similar to WCAG 2.1 AA, but not exactly the same. and you can be certified as a tester to test for those guidelines. However, the test results that you produce once you have that certification, those test results themselves are not certified in any way. And part of the reason for that is what we already touched on, that websites change all the time. And you can produce an ACR, an accessibility compliance report, based on the VPAT, the voluntary product accessibility template, but it's just valid until you make a change on the website, basically. So if I were to finish a ACR today and maybe you don't make a change to your site for 2 days, well, we have 2 whole days that ACR is valid. And then as soon as you make a change, it's completely invalid again and would need to be redone. Now, that's not reasonable. So most people don't go through and do a whole ACR every time they edit something on their website. A lot of companies will set a cadence, which could be every 6 months, every year, or every 2 years, where they're going to come back and refresh that and catch up to where they are. But again, it's not a certification. It's just a picture of here's how well the website is doing in complying with this standard on this day. And that's all the more it's doing.
Yeah. So the accessibility testers, they tend to get certified, or they have the option to get certified in their practice. But even that, there's no universal certification for testers either.
Outside of that one, there's nothing else. The IAAP has some certifications. We did an episode on it earlier, but they don't certify you to actually do work in the field. They're just proof that you have a certain body of knowledge.
Yes, yes. So if you hear the word certification around the digital accessibility space, there's not too much to back it. Whether you're a tester or reporting something on a website.
Yeah, that's definitely a red flag that somebody is maybe doing something a bit untoward or inappropriate and making some guarantees that they can't back up. So if somebody's offering you a badge to display on your site or some kind of official certification, you should definitely be wary, because it's not likely to be legitimate.
Yeah. A site can never be 100% accessible.
That's true. Even if you meet, if you have to comply with Section 508, even if you meet it 100% and pass every single success criteria, or if you're trying to comply with another standard, whether that it would be WCAG, or if you're in the EU, the EN 301549 standard, you can 100% comply with those standards, and your website is still not 100% accessible, because there are so many different parts of a website that can impact so many different kinds of audiences that you'll just never get to 100% accessibility, no matter how hard you try. Part of the challenge is that some of the needs of one group of people actually conflict with the needs of another group of people. And so you're always trying to find the compromise there on how can we accomplish this feature or this content without setting up barriers for anybody, but there could still be some challenges that maybe somebody would have to deal with some inconveniences, or they might need to be a little bit tech savvy to be able to figure something out. So there's always those kinds of challenges, no matter how hard you try.
These are like the gray areas of accessibility.
The gray areas of accessibility. And yeah, we have our most recent blog post on our Aardvark blog is actually about the things that you can do to help make your website accessible that are not in any guideline, just to give people examples of what kinds of things those are. So you could go and check that out if you're curious.
And while you can't get your website certified, it's still nice to put up an accessibility statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And an accessibility statement is also just a statement of here's what we have done to try to make our website accessible. Here's where we know we have failed, and acknowledge that. And here's who you can get in touch with if you're running into a problem on the site, so that we can try to address it.
So, if we're not trying to get our website certified, what should we be aiming for?
Yeah, so aiming for meeting whatever compliance standard would apply to your website is always a good place to get started. Most websites do not comply with whatever standard would apply to them. So if you don't have another legal standard where you are, then it's pretty safe to say you should be trying for WCAG 2.2 AA. And that would be every website on the web should be trying to comply with those things. So that's a good place to get started, is try to conform with whatever the compliance rules are for where you are. And then from there, you want to just be listening to your users, paying attention to where users might be running into problems, do user testing with your audience because every website's audience is slightly different, and just be looking for ways that you can help to reduce friction and make using your website or your app or whatever you happen to be building digitally as accessible as possible.
And then also making changes to your workflow right now to slowly start incorporating better practices so that you don't have to fix mistakes in the future.
Yes, and that is the practice that we call shifting left.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, we haven't talked about shifting left? Okay. Yeah, well, let's talk about shifting left for a minute because you will see it pretty often in the accessibility world. You will see people give you the advice to shift left. And what that means is, I guess, if your language that you happen to speak is a left to right language like English, and you think of the process of making a website where you're going to have the initial idea and then you're going to do some sketches, wireframes, what have you, and then go to design and then go to development and then go to layering and functionality. And if you think of that as a linear process that would go from left to right, unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they insert accessibility at the end as the last step before launch. And that is not what we want to do. You want to move accessibility left in the process so that it's earlier in the process. And ideally, it should be in there right from the very beginning, like right from the point where you're coming up with the idea and doing the initial sketches of the website. You should be thinking about accessibility there.
Okay. So just thinking about accessibility earlier. Shift left is not a keyboard command.
It is not a keyboard command and it is not a political statement. Yeah, it just has to do with thinking about accessibility earlier in the process of planning and building a website or a digital product.
All right. So, with that said, we talked about why you can't certify your website to be accessible. We went over what you should actually be aiming for with your website if you want to start looking into making it more accessible. And now, where can people start? Where can website owners start if they want to make their websites more accessible?
Yeah, you can come over to aardvarkaccessibility.com and test out your homepage for free, no credit card required. See where you might have some accessibility issues on your homepage, and it will guide you through explaining what those issues are and how you can fix them.
Perfect. So, everybody, go head over to aardvarkaccessibility.com, get your website checked out or your homepage for free. Create a free workspace. And with that, we'll end this podcast. This is episode 17. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll talk to y'all next time. And now, for the YouTube viewers, stick around this long. We're going to do our thumbnail pose. And this week, we're going to do angry, huffing face. What
What
is
is
this
the
called?
name of this face exactly?
It's
You can
called.
you can paste that into a Google search. It will tell you.
Oh, okay. Face with steam from nose.
Face with steam from nose. Okay.
All right. So he's like looking angry. And then,
Yeah, his eyebrows are like this. Am I looking
and
angry
then
enough?
I think we looked angry enough. I was peeking through
Okay.
my eye. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'll take that and edit the steam coming out.
I can't
Yes.
wait to see it.
And so with that, we're gonna